All right, all the GPU rumors are really swirling. This is always kind of like the fun time of the year where I don't normally like to do these rumor mill type videos, but you know what? It is fun to speculate. It's kind of fun to imagine and hope and wish, and it's just always hard to kind of figure out what seems realistic. I saw an article yesterday that was like RTX 4090 rumored to be twice as fast as 3090, and it's like, okay, let's simmer down there, fella. No, so we're talking about some of the rumors today from some fairly reputable sources, and then we'll give you some food for thought.
Hey, Jay. Jay. Jay.
What?
We got work to do.
Yeah, I'm playing World of Warships. Yeah. World of Warships is the free-to-play naval strategy game where you command the most iconic and famous warships from World War I and World War II, recreated with stunning detail and accuracy. Build your fleet while participating in various game types while upgrading your ship's arsenal along the way. New players who sign up using my link below will receive an exclusive starter pack to get you up and running quickly by receiving 7 days premium time, 1 million credits, 300 doubloons, and the Tier 5 premium ship, the Exeter. So what are you guys waiting for? Start sinking ships with World of Warships by heading to the description below and getting your freebies. Okay, so before we get into the skinny of it here, I want to give some credit to the articles that I'm referencing here. This one's actually coming from extremetech.com. I don't know much about this particular publication. I know that they are also referencing other rumors from other parties. So realistically, this is just giving you a place to sort of follow along. If you want to go and reference the numbers that I'm talking about, you can do that. So the link to this article will be down in the description below. So this is a talking head video. There might actually be some charts that pop up on here, just from some like GPU or tech power up when it comes to specs on existing stuff versus rumors. But the 3 new SKUs, no surprise whatsoever, NVIDIA has really not deviated from its numbering scheme since like the 400 series graphics cards, or maybe even 200 was, because they had the 285, the 295, which are dual GPUs and all that. So anyway, about the 400 series and up, they've kind of always stuck to 80 tier is the top, the 70 tier is the mid, the 60 tier is the entry level to the high end, and then you got 50s, which are more affordable type stuff. It wasn't until 30 series where they brought the 90 back, which they stopped using around the 690, which was a dual GPU card as well. And then 7 series and 9 series and 10 series did not have 90 series cards. They had Titans, which now they just sort of lump back into the GeForce lineup with the 90 and now the 90 Ti, which is something we'd never seen. So the 3 SKUs that are expected to launch in fall of 2022 is the 4090, the 4070, or the 4080 and the 4070. No surprise there. So you already know there's gonna be later on a Ti model of those at least. 30 series, although they didn't do supers this time around, they just did Ti's, which is kind of nice to see. Let's go ahead and start at the top. There's a Twitter handle of Copite 7KIMI or whatever. He's got a very good reputation on rumors and leaks and being accurate. The reason for that is they believe that he's, I guess, been in conversations with like a lot of manufacturers and the components companies and all that sort of stuff, and then puts a lot of information together based on what is being like kind of bought up, right? Because you can sort of tell where the future is going if you can track what components are being suddenly bought up and really fast. So they're calling it AD102, at least for the 90 core. And this is basically Ada Lovelace. So Lovelace is what we're referring to. We had Turing and all that, now we're on Lovelace. So Lovelace GPU is interesting because for the first time, we're expecting, based on these rumors, to see the 4090 be an AD102, the 4080 be a AD103, and then the 3070 being AD104. It would be the first time that we've actually seen the 80 and the 90 series cards have their own dedicated silicon numbering. Typically the 80 series cards and the 90 series cards are just shaved down versions of the same core. So like with the Turing core and the with the RTX 30 series, we saw the same core numbering for the 80 series, the 80 Ti, the 90, and the 90 Ti. And they were just shaved down versions of them. So those 4 SKUs were essentially the same core architecture, just shaved down. But now we're expecting to see, based on these rumors, separate GPU dies for the 90, the 80, and the 70. So that kind of, that could be good, That could be bad. I don't know what that's gonna do for manufacturing, because at least like 80 series cards could be yields from the 90 series cards, et cetera, et cetera. If it doesn't meet the 90 standard, shave it down, call it an 80, and now you're off and on your way. So I don't know what this means for manufacturing process. I don't know what this means for availability, what raw materials. It seems kind of scary, to be honest, given the shortages that we experienced with the day one launch with 30 series. Anyway, moving on with specs. It's expected to have 24 gigabytes of GDDR6 running at 21 gigabits per second. So that's essentially the same memory that we're seeing right now on the 3090 Ti. It is looking a lot like memory-wise, they're not really pushing the boundary, because there's still the rumor that NVIDIA might someday move to HBM. But HBM is, or high bandwidth memory, it is stacked 3D RAM. It's not something that's been holding GPU performance back. It hasn't been holding back the core. Honestly, the core architecture is still king when it comes to the performance. And that's something AMD learned a long time ago with Fiji and all that, was the fact that HBM, having super fast RAM, was not what we needed to see the advancement of GPU technology. So I think that's why we haven't seen NVIDIA do anything with HBM. There was also a rumor for a little bit there that GDDR7 might have been what they were going to use, which is 24 gigabits per second versus 21, faster RAM. And this could still change. This all could definitely change, because these rumors kind of were out before the 6X50 series graphics cards from AMD, like for instance the 6950X, which has faster throughput, faster RAM than the 3090 and 3090 Ti, although it has less of it. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM versus 24 gigabytes found on the 90 series cards. So they could still change this. They still could potentially go with GDDR7, or they could just increase the effective speed of the GDDR6X. So that's why these are early rumors. The board power though, rumored at 600 watts for the 4090. That should be, look, that is more wattage than like 20 series entire systems were running. Like the entire system, CPU, fans, hard drives, graphics card, lighting, controllers, SATA devices, or anything plugged into USB, any of that. That's more wattage alone in the graphics card under load than entire systems were running. Now, Phil and I were talking a little bit about this before recording this, and it's kind of like, it reminds us of the old days where they just de-gaffed about power and we're like, let's just go balls to the wall, who cares? Like this is literally like an NHRA dragster where it's gonna burn gallons of nitro fuel in a quarter of a mile. It was all about performance, and power consumption and all that was secondary. And then obviously as power conscious, efforts were made to make power draw less and less, with Moore's law and then the doubling of transistors and all that sort of stuff, it became less about that and more about the competition, because AMD was obviously getting extremely close to NVIDIA. So I could see them, and even passing NVIDIA with the 6950X, passing the 3090 anyway, not the 3090 Ti. I could see them going back to the mentality of, you know what, foot through the floor, let's go as fast as we can. Let's put the biggest coolers we can on these cards. Literally, it's like Fermi era all over again. Literally, this is like Fermi 2.0, actually Fermi 3.0. 30 series, 3090 and 3090 Ti, 3080 Ti, absolutely a Fermi 2.0. If you don't know what Fermi is, go and look it up. That's the 400 series cards, the 500 series cards, where it was all about the performance. Power, doesn't matter, it's gonna melt itself to death, but you're gonna have a lot of FPS while it's dying. Let's move on to the 4080. So the 4080 is rumored to be on the AD103 chip, not a cut down version of the 102. So again, there's a lot of speculation here on whether or not that's gonna be the case. Rumored to have 16 gigabytes of VRAM on it. The AD103 is 9,728 CUDA cores, whereas the 3080 was 8,704 CUDA cores. Faster core architecture, 5 nanometers still, apparently, and then more of those cores. Board power on that one is looking at about 450 watts. So that is equal right now to what the current 3090 Ti is in terms of board power. Remember, the 3090 was 350 watts, and then it's actually drawing more effectively 400 watts under load. Now they're saying 450 watts, which is the same as a 3090 Ti. So this is definitely the foot to the floor, dump all the fuel in it. Who cares about temperature and who cares about efficiency? Just get us the performance. The RTX 4070, 12 gigabytes of GDDR6, running 18 gigabits per second, which is odd because that's technically more gigabits per second than the 3080, but less of it. So it's kind of like this really weird sort of, that's what makes some of these rumors really hard to understand or believe, is the fact that they would be having faster bandwidth on a 30 or 70 series card, a 4070 card, than the 4080. So I don't know. Board power on that one is expected to be about 300 watts, which is funny because that's still 50 watts more than a 2080 Ti, which again proves that NVIDIA is just all about foot to the floor, doesn't matter, which is exciting to see. Like I said, I'm a performance whore, so give me all the performance and I'll put a bigger power supply in there and then I'll just eat it at the end of the month when it comes to energy costs if I'm gaming for hours on end. I've got 28 solar panels on my house. Basically, I did the math on this. I have 400 watt solar panels. On a perfectly sunny day, if my panels are at 100% efficiency and they are actually generating 400 watts of power, and I game for 1 hour with a 4090 and let's say a 12th gen 12900K, I will use more than 2 panels dedicated to that system in peak demand. Now, I don't have batteries in my house, so I'm not actually powering the computer with my solar. I'm selling that power back to the power company. But it would be like, 2.5 panels actually, because it would actually be about 1,000 watts of load on the system if the CPU is doing a CPU intensive task in the game, like a big world or something it's generating while the graphics card, and that's not overclocked. I'm gonna overclock my card. So the CPU won't be under full load, the card will be. It will be drawing more power probably than is recommended. I'll even hack the BIOS if I have to, I always do. 2.5 of my solar panels would be dedicated to just offsetting the power of my computer for 1 hour. So if that gives you any indication as to exactly how much power these cards are expected to draw, let's go ahead and talk about what that means for you. I've always preached, get a bigger power supply than you think you need if you want to have any sort of forward compatibility. I don't use the term future proofing. Future proofing is a false term. There's no such thing as future proof. That means that you are impervious to the effects of the future and that nobody is. So in terms of your system being more future ready or future compatible, then you need to oversize certain things like your power supply, your case, and things like that. Additional case cooling, case fans and stuff, even if you don't think you need it. Because if you were sitting here on like a 750 watt power supply, which was plenty for like a 2080 Ti with a 10th gen or a 9th gen CPU, or even AMD Ryzen, but Ryzen system, you could not run a 4090 even if you just wanted to upgrade the graphics card and leave your CPU and stuff the way it is. You could not run a 4090 properly. You would probably get all kinds of weirdness happening with your system, probably lockups, shutdowns, restarts because of overcurrent protection. So 1,000 watt minimum is what we're looking at here. And that's what's actually recommended. Let me put this into maybe a little bit better terms to understand. If you are running a 3090 Ti, like For the Win or a Gaming X Trio, Asus Strix, whatever. These are overclocked from the factory. These are drawing more power limit. 1,000 watt power supply is recommended for that in today's environment. That is a 450 watt TDP card plus whatever offset. So let's say 475, because a lot of the AIBs will add about 25, 30 watts of power draw to these cards. 600 watts on a 4090? And they're recommending 1,000 watt already on a 450 plus watt card? 1,200 watts? Look, if they keep going this route, the American 110 volt system will not be able to power a system under load because 15 amp breakers are about as high as you can go for the average home. And then if you want to do 20 amp breaker, so you can run 1,500 watts plus continuous without any issues of tripping your breaker, you've got to go replace all the receptacles in your house. And you can't just replace the receptacles because your Romex or your in-wall wiring has to be able to support that level of amp draw. You may not even be able to in the future if these cards get any more powerful. Which is why I'm going to get 2 of these and try and SLI them if 4090 will allow you to SLI. Who knows if this is the generation where they finally, once and for all, remove the NVLink tabs and just say it's gone even for extreme overclocking for like LN2 competitions and all that sort of stuff. I'm excited, to be honest. I guess I'm a power snob. I'm literally a whore for electrons. Give me all of them. I don't care what it costs. I just want to sit there and be like, oh, the power, it is mine. And then run my benchmark and be like, what do I do now? Do it again. Just run it over and over and over because we can. And then I go play Rocket League with it. Or Phasmophobia. So how much of this is true? I don't know. We'll see. I'll put links to the reference article down below and the Tech GPU Tech Power Up for this particular stuff. Rumor mills are fun, especially if you. The only problem with rumor mills is sometimes they're just too good to be true. Like I said, there was an article that was like 4090 to be twice as fast as 3090. Okay, can we elaborate on that? Are we talking about maybe double precision or something like that? Because we know NVIDIA has been shaving and cutting down the double precision performance of these cards for a long time because they really want to push their Quadro and others like the Titan series cards that are going to be better for that sort of thing. You're not, like, people will see an article like that and what they'll hear is 4090 double the FPS of 3090. And that's not what that means. Hell, 4090 double the power of a 3090 could literally mean the power draw at this point. So you gotta read these articles and these rumor mills with a grain of salt. In terms of performance expectations, in terms of generation over generation, we've realistically always seen it land somewhere between 25 and 30% faster at the top tier. That's typical. If we go back, if I were to bring up my chart right now, my spreadsheet that has all the tests I've ever run since starting this channel, it's a pretty messed up spreadsheet. It's time to kind of make a new one because this one is definitely overflowing with info that's irrelevant at this point. If I were to go back to, let's say, the 980 and do a chart of 980 all the way up to 3080, you'll see about 25, 27% over and over and over and over between the card generations. And NVIDIA artificially does that on purpose. They don't want to push it too far, too fast on purpose. And that's for the sake of competition. It honestly is. It's artificial stagnation while controlling the generational improvements so that they can really sort of dictate where we go, how much power they have in reserve in case AMD gets too close. It's very strategic. I mean, it really is. It's kind of fascinating if you start to follow those trends. If you're a trend follower like I am, in the sense of just seeing what companies are known to do, because if you know what a company's done in the past, you can very accurately predict what they'll do in the future. And do I see NVIDIA pulling out all the stops? No, I see them pushing their architecture, the core architecture, as far as they can, just by bumping power and up to it and beefing up cooling, while suddenly later on they'll be able to come out with a TI model, telling us that they were still holding back as far as they can. But anyway, that's it. That's that. Like I said, I'll put a link to the articles for reference down below. And what are your guys's? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think any of this is true? What do you think is going to change? Are you going to try and buy one? I'm sure everyone is. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.